Wife was caught with her AP and will be severed today update. Story 1. Me, 33 male, with my wife, 33 female of 9 years. She cheated and I'm gone. I'll try to keep this short. Thank you to everyone who has helped break up threads and infidelity threads over the last several months. There have been numerous times when I have spent several hours going through the advice produced by these blogs. It has helped me in developing and executing a strategy. Here is a synopsis of the previous 7 months. We are happily married, have no children, and are both professionals. My job necessitates some travel, which is a major problem since her job needs her to work 80+ hours each week. We're both incredibly busy, but she's far busier than I am. A few things didn't match up in September, so the investigation started based on Reddit recommendations. It took me a long time to figure out what was going on since she was really good at concealment. Around November, all of the pieces fell into place and outside assistance was enlisted to assist me in getting all of my ducks in a row. An attorney and a private investigator were also recruited. Everything was validated 100% by the PI in January, and that was all the evidence I needed. After considerable deliberation, this is the day when everything comes to an end. Since the visual confirmation earlier this year, I've been planning it. She will be served tonight at 4 p.m. in her workplace. She has no clue that this is coming from me based on discussions she has had with me and ones she has had with the other man. It will come as a surprise, but not as a shock. We make about the same amount of money and don't have a lot of things, so the divorce will be straightforward. The truck is now parked in front of the home and it is fully loaded. I'm leaving the state. It makes no difference where I reside since I work in sales and my region encompasses half of the United States. My family gave me the items of furniture that I am taking with me when we married. She can get everything else and she'll keep it. 3 to 4 if it anyhow. I'm driving the truck myself and can't wait to go to my new apartment and begin a new chapter in my life. My past 6 months have been misery on earth. Here's the question, and I believe I already know the solution, but I'd want to hear your thoughts. Her other man is a law office co-worker. He is in his early 52s, has a wife and 3 children. They don't seem to be in the same department and he isn't her employer. He seemed to have a wonderful family and a wonderful life. Do I call his wife as I prepare to leave town? Do you want to find out? Is it just me being spiteful? Edit. She received the paperwork. For the past 15 minutes or so, I've been bombarded by phone calls and SMS. Her sister and mother have also called. I have yet to react to any of them. In addition, I'm relocating from a big metropolis in the northeast of Florida. I am hoping to go to South Carolina tonight and then on to my ultimate destination tomorrow. I'll now stop for gas and coffee, and I sincerely appreciate everyone's good sentiments. At 2, I'm still driving, but I'm getting closer to my new house. Last night was a lot of fun. I didn't call her or text her. I did spoke to my mom and her sister on the phone. My statements to her sister were thoughtful and deliberate, as I expected her to hang up the phone with me and tell her everything. It was difficult to talk to my mother. It's an embarrassing subject to bring up with your family. My mother has given me her full support and will pay me a visit at my new home next weekend. Moms are the most wonderful people. Down a few days, I'll settle in and update everything. I've resolved not to contact my boyfriend's wife. I may alter my mind later, but for the time being no communication with her is planned. I'm excited to start again. I moved into my new house on Friday evening and spent Saturday unpacking and settling, and it's weird to have to start anew, but it's the correct thing to do. Thank you for all of your kind words and inquiries. Here are several examples. My soon-to-be ex-wife never received a response from me. Her phone calls and messages were unanswered till yesterday morning. The most recent one she sent claimed she would sign the paperwork and give me the divorce while thanks her sister and I had a brief talk. We had a quick but cautious phone contact Thursday night, followed by a lengthy and extremely useful follow-up call on Saturday. While she wants to protect her sister, she knows why I did what I did and does not hold it against me. There does not seem to be any antagonism towards me after the call, which I am glad for. Many of your options indicate that the other guy's wife will have to stay in the dark for me. For me, leaving the circumstance means not remaining engaged. If she phoned me and asked what was going on, I would tell her everything. There was no reluctance at all. The difficult thing is figuring out how I caught her. Last summer there were several subtle changes in her conduct, and although each of them is minor in and of itself, they disturbed me as a collective. She began to drink more, progressing from 1 glass of wine once a week to virtually every night. She lost her cool a few of times over little things that happen in life. Blowing out at a waiter, a man on the metro, a Chipotle child, and so on. She had never been like this before. She raged at her parents on the phone and hung up on them one night, which was completely out of character for her. But here's the one that started it all. One of our college friends, who had just divorced, was present at a wedding last autumn. The companion felt lonely and unhappy with herself. My wife advised that she sleep with someone to regain her confidence and that she was okay with it if it was me. Needless to say, I was taken aback and would never do something like that again. The only thing I could think of and have her say that night as I laid in bed was that she was joking around and seeking for a way to relieve her guilt. And I was correct. It simply took a bit for me to figure out what was going on. As previously said, the man is an older man who works for the same company as she does. For a period, they met throughout the day at various hotels across town. She was entertaining him at our house while I was out of town. They utilized our spare bedroom, which I didn't realize until 6 weeks later. After determining how they communicated, burner phone concealed in her vehicle, and where they met, our home usually. It was simple for me to acquire all the proof I needed to submit paperwork. Thank you to a lawyer and a private investigator. You can hear and see everything in vivid detail with a pie. When faced with the harsh truth of what was occurring and what was being said about me to him, as well as what was happening in my own family, I shed many tears. However, as many of you have pointed out, she is the one who is at fault, and I can stand tall, knowing that I did the right thing. Story 2. Wife cheated and says she didn't cheat. So I was completely over heels in love with this lady, and we had been dating for 6 months when I decided to propose since it seemed so natural and we had already made plans to have a family and grow old together. She gladly said yes, and it was the happiest we'd ever been in our lives. We were working in dead-end occupations until I discovered a method for us to further our careers via the California Conservation Corps. We moved away from home to live and work at a residential facility, and things were going well for the first 2 months. I had a lot of volunteer hours, she was the recycling coordinator, and I was elected president of the community. Everything was going swimmingly. My roommate became ill and was quarantined, so I was sent to an isolation dorm since we shared a room. During my period in solitude, I asked a few people to send my wife my ways so that we could communicate and spend time together. She never showed up. I was furious with her the following day and told her so, and she told me we needed to discuss. She stated that we weren't the proper people for each other and that we weren't a good match. I had never felt so passionately about someone before, so this caught me off guard and caused me to have a panic attack. About 6 hours later, I went to chat to her again, and she told me that she had a couple of hours with this other man who lives and works with us, and he also fingered her. My gut and heart both fell. The next day, I sought an emergency transfer to a new job location, and they informed me that I would have to wait. I had to wait 3 weeks to get out of there while she was having an affair with another guy right in front of my eyes. For 3 weeks, I was in hell. I accepted the move and assumed that the distance would be beneficial, but I was unaware that the harm was still occurring to me. I acquired panic disorder and extreme sadness as a result of her. I experienced 20 to 25 panic episodes in a month that I had never had before. At one point, I experienced visual hallucinations of her and heard her voice inside my brain asking me to commit suicide. Things deteriorated to the point that I needed to leave my job and concentrate on counseling and mental health. It's been roughly 3 months and things are now beginning to improve. I recognize that I drove her away from me, but I did not drive her into the arms of another man. I can only accept responsibility for my actions, not hers. It irritates me that she told me she didn't cheat because she had an emotional link to the other person and knew in her brain that she was separated from me, even though she never told me she wanted to be separated. The real kicker is that she is a psychology major. It gets better, my friends. I went through hell and came out the other side, albeit I still feel like a shell of the guy I once was. Story 3. I, 28 male, think my girlfriend, 26 female of 4 years, is going to leave me for her dying ex-boyfriend in first love. Following their messages, I have not been the same person since. It happened that I was using her old iPad for work and her Facebook account was still connected to it. I was ready to write her using my Messenger app since I had left my phone at home, but I saw she had received messages from her ex-boyfriend and decided to back out. Let's call him Andre for the time being. Her and Andre had been together for 2 years at the time of writing. Their first love was each other, and she never told me what happened between them. While on a family trip in California with my parents, I happened to run see her a year and a half after they separated. I didn't know much about him other than the fact that they were in a relationship throughout high school and college. When I first met her, we hit it off straight away. She showed me around Los Angeles and didn't seem to mind that I was residing in Australia. In order to move her to another country, we had to be in a long-distance relationship for a year until I had saved up enough money. Aside from that, it took me months to find a job in Los Angeles that would allow me to be financially secure when I first came in the city. We're still going strong 3 years after we first started. As a result, I reasoned. When I clicked on their chat, I saw the kiss and love emoticons right away and was intrigued. It was at that point that I realized what was going on. I won't go into details, but one message stood out to me. She said that she would be leaving me for a few months to care for him. In the early stages of cancer, he feels he will die. He has cancer and believes he will die. In one of his messages to her, he inquired as to whether she would be interested in paying him a visit at his residence. And I'm very certain she did, since they both remarked how much fun they had together and how good it was to meet up with one another again. My discovery of the truth took place a week ago this week. She had no clue that I was aware of this or that I took her old iPad out of its box and read their messages for 2 days without her knowledge. She has absolutely no idea what she is talking about. Despite the fact that she feels everything is okay between us, I want uncontrollably for a long time and do bodily harm to myself. I don't have any friends in Los Angeles. They've all gone home and are content with their own lives. I don't want to talk about it with anybody since it makes me feel sick to my stomach just thinking about it. When it comes down to it, I believe she never really cared for me, and I'm still trying to accept this. I am at a loss on what to do in this situation. After writing my resignation letter for work, I notified my parents that I would be going home in the following several weeks, if not sooner. When I was very enraged, I performed both of these things. I just need guidance on how to continue. I don't want to talk about it with her since it's embarrassing. I can't even look her in the eyes since I'm in such a state of shock. Advice on what to do and how to deal with the issue would be much appreciated. Now that she's at work, I'm considering leaving while she's there. It took me a long time to confess to my girlfriend about it, and she is now officially my ex-girlfriend. Lots of things happened in a short period of time, many of which I had not imagined happening at all. As soon as she walked through the door of our apartment, I could tell she was going to cry. It hurt to see her in such a vulnerable state, since I didn't want to put her in that position. The fact that none of this was my fault was something I had to remind myself of all the time. When we finally sat down, there were many tears. In my mind, I anticipated to be angry and enraged and to be shouting at her the whole time, but instead I was pleasantly surprised. I told her that I had seen the messages and explained how I had ended up going through their whole conversation with the texts in hand. She justified her actions by telling herself that she felt bad for him and that she didn't know how to say no to him since they had such a lengthy history together. Then I told her that we had a far longer family history than they did, and she seemed surprised. I was there for her when she was at her lowest point, and I assisted her in getting back on her feet. She admitted to having had more than 3 encounters with him in the past. I had a strong feeling it was going to happen, but hearing her confirm it was devastating. I couldn't stop myself from weeping excessively at that point. Because my thoughts were rushing, I can't recollect some details of what happened. Even now, this is still the case. I remember telling her that I was done, that whatever we were going through was over. The woman knelt in front of me and pleaded with me to forgive her. I don't think I'll ever be able to do so. People that deceive me anger me greatly. By that point, I'd finished packing around 1/3 of my possessions. I assume she is content with him if she can treat me like Y. After I posted my first post, I received a message from a Redditor who gave me a place to stay. We were just about 15 minutes away from his place, which he picked me up and dropped me off at ours. Besides that, he'll aid me in selling a large number of my items that I won't be able to transport back home, as well as in assembling all of my possessions in my apartment. We both agreed that he would not be identified in this post. The fact that I shared myself with this group rather than keeping it to myself has made me happy. Please accept my thanks on behalf of everyone else who has given me a position. It's nearly 3 a.m. and I'm just as sad as I've always been, but I'm trying my best to get through it. I sent my resignation letter to my employer this morning. Everyone in my family is now aware of my predicament and has offered to provide a helping hand. I want to return to my hometown as soon as possible. Please get in touch with me if you happen to live in or near Chapel Hill, Australia. America, thank you for everything, but it's time to return home. Everyone, thank you very much for your aid. Edit. My tears have returned, not because I've been dumped, but because I've realized that there is a whole world out there that really cares about my well-being and happiness. I can't believe I ever contemplated self-harm as a means of escaping the misery I was experiencing. I am astounded and delighted to be a part of this community. In fact, Anthony and his wife, who happened to be the Redditor that helped me, have declared this to be the best thing that has ever happened to them. I may have lost a girlfriend and a potential marriage, but I gained a swarm of new acquaintances, some of whom will become lifelong companions. I am feeling better overall, save from one little inconvenience. It's still strange that she's no longer there, but what can a man do? She came to a choice, and I came to a decision. The next morning, I awakened to messages from her family begging me not to rush things and that she's naive and makes mistakes just like the rest of us. Although it's a pity that I won't be able to see her family for a lengthy period of time, they were very lovely people. I thanked them and said that although I believe in second chances and acknowledge that everyone makes mistakes, cheating is a choice made by jerks and is never a mistake in my opinion. At roughly 5 a.m., I received an email from X. The email was much too long and my eyes were aching from crying, so I deleted it soon after receiving it. I adore her, but I adore her much more. I'm well aware that it will take a long time for me to recover, but I guess I'll just have to wait. The number of goods I couldn't afford to bring back home was staggering, including the television I bought for my ex, which she really enjoyed, the microwave, and my PlayStation 4. I'm now in Australia, and although things aren't going quite as planned, the situation I'm in is manageable for the time being. And to top it all off, my brother has been constantly assaulting me because of something foolish I said about a cancer patient when I was drinking. Because one of his closest friends died in a terrible manner, it was something along the lines of hope he dies in a dreadful manner that got him all worked up in the first place. To cut a long story short, I did not relocate to Brisbane to live with him and am now uninspired and jobless in Perth, where I am staying with my parents. I'm completely despondent and resentful of my ex, but there's nothing I can do about it other than to let it go and let it be.